Hey, Faith, it's Pastor Jeremy here with you today, along with Pastors Matt and Lisa. And we're here to talk about the two services survey we put out a little while back. I think it was earlier in the summer. First off, in the beginning of June, we let you know that we were beginning to plan towards moving to two services later in 2025. And then early in the summer, we put out a survey just to gauge your reaction, your response, like, hey, what questions do you have? I'm trying to gather some data for ourselves. And today we're going to take some time and talk about the data we got and answer some of the questions that came in. Two ministries most directly impacted by move to two services are kids and worship and production. So that's why I've got Matt and Lisa here to help answer some of those questions. So yeah, we're just going to walk through some of these results, tell you a little bit about what our plans are, and try to address your questions as best we can. So one of the first questions we asked was like, would you be willing to attend overflow in the chapel? And it was about like half and half. About 56% said, yeah, I'm up for it. And about 40% said no. As we're recording this, actually, we had our first overflow Sunday this past week. I think we had 40 people already in there. The plan is to run that until we launch two services. It gives a little more space in the auditorium, buys us some time while we build plans and evaluate numbers. The second question we asked you was, if service times were 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., which would you be more likely to attend? And 9 a.m. seemed to be the more popular number. 59% said 9 a.m., there were 23% said 11, and the rest were undecided, like, we'll figure it out when we go. Matt, would you be like, if you weren't on worship, would you be a 9 a.m. service and 11 a.m. service guy?
Personally, with young kids at home, I'd be an early service guy, 9 a.m. probably.
Yeah, I would be a 9 a.m. girl too. I'm an early riser, but my teenagers, on the other hand, who love to sleep in, would probably say otherwise.
Right. It seems like a pretty good split there. I was surprised by it, but it's a good point that like a lot of people, younger families may gravitate towards an earlier service because we all know that, like when you've got toddlers in the house, sometimes you've lived like 5 lifetimes by 10 a.m. Another one I was really encouraged by actually was that we asked, hey, if we asked you to commit to a particular service time to help us bring some balance between the numbers, 81% of people who responded to the survey said, yes, you should be happy.
That's awesome.
So thank you for that, for your willingness to be flexible if there's a need there. When we get to launching two services and we feel like one service is way larger than the other, we may ask you to help us balance that out. But we expect by the survey results, we'll probably be okay, but we'll evaluate that as we go. Another question was, we asked, are you currently serving on Sundays? And 48% said they already are serving on Sundays. And then we asked like a subsequent question of the people who aren't serving, said, hey, if you aren't currently serving on Sunday mornings, would you be willing to? And another 50% of those said, yeah, we'd be willing to check it out. So again, thank you. And if you haven't yet, look into opportunities coming up to serve with the ministry fair happening on September 21st. Every ministry in our church virtually will be represented there that day. So whether the ministries to attend and or serve at, find your spot. And then the last question in that first part was, how do you feel about going to two services? And 43% of people responded, hey, they're excited about it. We're pumped. This is great news. Another 42% were like, hey, it's probably good, but we got some questions. And another 15% were like, we just want to stay at one. I get it. Some people just like change, count me out. I just want things to stay the way it is. I understand that fully. So we wanted to take some time now to talk about, okay, here's why we're making the move. And also when we do make that transition, what will it look like? Really the primary reason and the only reason is that we're making room. As we pursue our vision here at Faith of becoming a community of Jesus followers on mission with good news, we've seen God's blessing as more of our friends, more of our neighbors are beginning to call Faith home. Typical Sunday now, we're seeing around 800 people attend our services. 700-ish in the auditorium, another 100 or so involved in kids ministry. And these numbers bring space issues, right? It's not even just about like the room in the auditorium. We set up just over 800 chairs in the auditorium. So some of you might be like, and some of you commented like, oh, hey, I still see some space. Yeah, there's still some room in there, but it also creates space issues in our foyer. Our foyer cannot comfortably accommodate 800 people. And we're beginning to run into those similar space issues in our kids ministry spaces. To have the ideal class size that we want for each of our grades, we've only got so many rooms to go into, and we don't want to overpack those classrooms. So, and our parking lot would be another one. We're fortunate to have a lot of parking, but that's another one of those areas that we would have to watch, that once they're too full, especially new people coming in, feel like there's no room for them, even if there are seats and things like that available. General rule for meeting spaces like ours that lots of research has been done on is that once you surpass 80% capacity, your space is functionally full, right? So people who are familiar here, people who are like feel at home at Faith, you walk in, you see a full room, you see lots of familiar faces, and it feels like home. We have to kind of keep in mind is that when guests come in, let's say a family of 5 walks in to our service for the first time on a Sunday, and they come in, a couple minutes after 10, finding 5 seats together, really difficult. So when we get to those places where guests don't feel as though there's space, that's when we have to start to say, okay, now we need to be conscious of that. There's actually a lot of research done into organizations that when they hit that 80% capacity or surpass that, if they don't make changes to allow for more capacity, growth plateaus or declines. So we currently set up about 850 chairs in the auditorium. 80% of that would be 680. We regularly have over 700 in the auditorium. So we're already surpassing that in the auditorium, not to mention our foyer and kids ministry spaces are surpassing that 80% number. Next question that came up was like, and by far the most common comment we had on our forum was people saying, well, if we make a move to 2 services, I'm worried about missing people who attend the other service. I'm worried about not seeing family or friends. If I go to the 9 a.m. service, I go to the 11. Are we going to feel like 2 congregations? These kind of things. When churches get to our size, that's a real issue. Now, but the reality is that when we have 800 plus people, none of us, including me, know everybody in the room. So we're already past that point where we can know everybody. But nevertheless, we want to mitigate those circumstances as best we can. So we have kind of 4 points I want to talk about, 4 things we have in mind to help us mitigate that split. The first is coffee social time between services. So after the 9 a.m. service and leading up to 11 a.m. service, there'll be coffee and tea available for people to stick around and fellowship. And if you're really like want to make sure, hey, there was somebody that wasn't at the 9 a.m. I know they're coming to the 11. I want to stick around and say hi to them before I go. Feel free. So if you're really interested in catching somebody who's coming to the second service, you're welcome to hang around. If you want to attend both services, be my guest. Like you're certainly more than welcome to do that if you choose to.
Or like consider serving as well. The needs of the church are growing. Exciting things are happening, and we'd love for you to be a part of that. It would be awesome if you would serve one service and attend the other. And there are ministry areas that really work for that. Kids ministry, frontline greeters. By doing that, serving one, attending one, you get to be a part of the bigger family.
Yeah, we also have a lot of events coming up that will involve the whole church family. You know, I love to bring everyone together for a good time. Illuminate is coming up in December. We have our church picnic every year. Family Day, we have a fun event. We also have our anniversary celebration coming up in January. Stay tuned. You're going to hear more about that. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, there's lots of great plans coming together for that. We encourage you to connect beyond Sundays. Our church is well past the point in size of being able to connect with everybody in the room on a Sunday morning. Right? Once you get past 150 or 200 people, that possibility goes out the window. So to connect deeply here at Faith, we encourage you to find a place beyond Sundays. A small group, Bible studies, men's ministry, women's ministry, kids, youth. There are all kinds of places where you can plug in to serve or just be a part of a group. Find one of those spaces, and that's where your best and deepest connections are going to come. Specifically, I'd say like people connect the best when they're serving. When you actually got your hand to the plow with other people and are performing a task together, working together, that's where I've seen the deepest relationships. So I wanted, like, there were some key concerns that were shared by people. We wanted to go through and address some of those as well. And one that came up a lot was that like people would say, "Oh, we're worried about overburdening our staff and our pastors," which thank you. Like I was like really like humbled that so many of our respondents were like, "Hey, we want to make sure like you guys are okay. This isn't going to tax you too much." And I don't have like a total answer for that, except to say that we're trying to build in the boundaries that will allow our staff to continue to thrive and have the time they need to take this on while not being overtaxed. Like I can speak for me personally. Right, that I have a great preaching team around me already of people that help take that Sunday morning load, and I'll continue to lean on that. But that'll be something that we continue to watch and monitor to make sure our staff have the time, have the resources they need to thrive under what's going to be an increased amount of pressure and time. The second comment that came in a lot was increased demand on volunteers. People were like, "Well, do we have the people we need to pull this off? Are people who are already serving a lot, are they going to have to serve more? You know, what about areas like worship and tech, kids, frontline?" Well, the biggest way to address those concerns, and they are concerns, we need more people to operate 2 services. The simplest answer is that we need more of you to step up to serve, right? And to find your place in the church family where you can help bring our vision to reality, and so we can reach more people through a second service. Matt and Lisa, I'll start with you. How's the kids ministry team looking heading towards 2 services? Do you have the people you need? Are you looking for more people?
Yeah, that's a great question. The great thing about how our kids ministry team is structured, even in the leadership, is that Allison, Jenna, and I work really closely together. We are a team, so we can support each other as far as leading different areas on Sunday mornings. So as far as just the concern about the pastors and the lead team, that's kind of something that we have going for us in kids ministry that I think is really great. As far as my volunteers, our volunteer team is incredible. We have a big team. They work hard. They're very, very good at what they do. But the reality is that many of them serve in other areas of the church. When someone is gifted and skilled and invested, they tend to do that kind of here, there, and everywhere. A lot of my volunteers also have young children themselves and can't commit to serving more or staying for both services. The people that we have are incredible, but we do need more people, probably another 15 to 20 at least if we're being realistic. And I know that you are out there because I have had a handful of conversations over the last year with people who have said, I would serve in kids ministry, but I just really like being in the service. Like, it's really important that I'm in the service. And I get that, and I appreciate the season for that too. But to that I say, now you have a really great opportunity to be in one service and serve in kids ministry as often as you want without ever having to miss out. So I think that's a really great opportunity for those of you who have been holding back for that reason. Now's your chance.
Excellent. Matt, how's the worship and production team looking?
I have to say, we are so fortunate, so blessed as a church to have the kind of volunteers we do have. Our volunteers are putting in a lot of personal time and commitment. That's where the big demand is. So our worship and production teams are scheduled probably about a month upward to 2 months in advance at times. And so in their personal time, they're prepping, they're learning material, they're developing their skills. So by the time we get to the Sunday service, a lot of that hard work is already done. I think most of our volunteers would say Sunday is the fun part. We get to implement and share and express everything that we've invested in and worked hard for leading up to that time. So how we're approaching the two services, we're planning one service and then implementing it twice on Sunday. So in that sense, our services will be identical in our who's teaching, the service plan, who's serving on the worship team and the production teams. In essence, we're offering a second opportunity on Sunday to do that fun part that we've already worked hard for. A lot of what we are currently doing right now on Sundays, though our teams do it very, very well, they're using some outdated systems and hardware that just make some of the work labor heavy and a bit clunky. Updating some of those hardware pieces is just going to streamline things and hopefully make the work more enjoyable for our volunteers, especially in the production department, and ultimately life-giving. I want serving in this ministry area to be life-giving to all of our volunteers. And so yeah, it's kind of where we're at.
It's great. Thanks, Matt. Another question that came in, Matt, or you kind of alluded to the answer, was like, will the services be identical or will they be different? We made that decision that the services will be identical, right? Like,
Yeah.
Like same worship team, same preacher, kids ministry offered during both services. So we're keeping them as identical as we possibly can. It'll be the same sermon, same songs, all those key pieces will all still be the same. And the next most common question that came in was like, well, will there be kids ministry available during both services?
There will be kids ministry offered in both services from nursery all the way up to grade 5. They will look a little bit different. I anticipate that the first service will be structured very much like we're doing right now. The second service may start out as fewer small groups or one larger group, just as we continue to build our volunteer team and as the number of children that we have continues to grow. We'll then divide up kind of the groups in the second service. Eventually, I think by the end of our first year, they will be looking very identical and will be equal small groups in both services. But it'll take a bit of tweaking, a bit of trial and error, I think, and moving some pieces around to figure it out. But there absolutely will be kids ministry for both services from nursery to grade 5.
Yeah, and it will be a learning experience as we go. When we launch, there'll be tweaks, right? We won't get everything right the first week or the first month, but we'll keep tweaking, keep adjusting things to make sure we get it right, figure it out over time. And also, like, when we do come to the time to launch, we're not going to just, it's not just going to be like, we're going to flick a switch from one Sunday to the next, be like, hey, next Sunday, by the way, 9 or 11. Like, we're going to give you at least a month's heads up, like Matt alluded to already, right? Like our worship teams and Lisa does the same with our volunteers. Like, they're scheduled at least a month out. So we need to give our teams appropriate notice so that those new schedules can click in. So you have at least a 4th Sunday, probably heads up as to when the change will happen. And again, we're watching the numbers through the fall. Once we know we've kind of consistently surpassed, we're confident we're consistently past at 8%, then the gears will begin to be in motion. One last question people asked was like, well, what about doing a second service at a different time, maybe like later on Sundays, or what about a Saturday night service or middle of the week? So in the lead up to all this, we as like a ministry team, we consulted a number of different churches, between myself, Lisa, Matt, Pastor Greg, We talk with people in our areas of ministry that are in churches doing multiple services, ask them all the questions, did all the research we could, tried to gather all the data and minimize the mistakes, right? Like what are the common knowledge things that we should know? What are the common pitfalls that churches often fall into? All these kind of things. And also a lot of us that we've been through two services ourselves. Matt, you've led in two service environment before. My previous church was like that. Same for Pastor Greg. We've been down the road ourselves as well. So far and away, the best strategy is to operate two services functionally back to back. Just do a service, like all the startup, all the setup, all the people, trying to gather and then regather them at different times is far too burdensome to do. Forgetting the fact that our building just isn't available at another time. Like to do anything during the week, the building's already packed full during the rest of the week. So it makes the most sense to do 9 and 11, that gap in between, to allow kind of transition to one service to people to move out, the next service to move in. And practically speaking, the vast majority of people who want to come to church want to come on Sunday morning. And that's so culturally, that's an important time that people set aside. And obviously work schedule, all these kind of things, it can vary for everybody. But the pastors I talked to who tried Saturday night or Friday night, things like that, they said they're never able to grow them past a really small group of people who are interested. They were never able to do what the other Sunday morning services could do. So 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock will be our service times. When we make that change, we feel like that gives us our best shot at doing both really, really well. So those are really all the questions that came in, all the data. Thank you for we had 130 some odd responses to the survey. Thank you for all that information, for taking the time. If you continue to have questions in the lead up to this, by all means, feel free to talk to one of us, talk to the elders. We'd be happy to hear from you or address any questions, answer any questions that we can. Please continue to pray with us. Thank God that we're in a situation where we have to make accommodation for growth. That God's seeing fit to entrust more people to the care of Faith Church is a huge blessing. And as this community grows, as this church grows, we want to make sure that we're shepherding people well and stewarding the resources really well. Our vision is to be a community of Jesus followers on mission with good news, and having more people bring on mission is a good thing, so we can reach our community better and make a wider impact into St. Thomas and Elgin County. That's what we're doing. We're making room to reach more people for the sake and the cause and the kingdom of Jesus Christ. Please pray with us in that regard. And when it comes time to actually flip the switch and go to two services, we'll make sure to let you know. Thanks so much. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.